Hello YouTube, and welcome to the second episode of Cooking for the Culinarily Challenged. And I want to say happy 4th of July. It's a hot and sunny 4th here in California, and it also happens to be my stepmom's birthday, so happy birthday, Cindy. And the date of my family reunion, and I've been asked to bring a dish. Apparently it's going to be a suicide pact because they all want to die if they're having me cook for them. But we thought we'd pick something that was kind of light and easy and summery. And I thought back to a dish we had at an Italian restaurant, which was a great pesto dish. And when we ate it, it was simple and easy, and we thought we could totally rock this dish. So it doesn't really have a name, it's just Bryan's pesto. What we're going to be using in this dish today is some penne pasta. And I'm feeding a bunch of people today, so it's a really big recipe. I've got 2 boxes. Of course, we've got our pesto, and I'm not advocating any particular brand. You use whatever is good for you. We happen to like this. And I'm using 2 jars today. And you can make your own pesto. It's actually not that terribly hard to do, but I've got 4 kids, so anything that comes out of a jar rocks. Sun-dried tomatoes, which you can also make yourself very easy if you're so inclined. Lots and lots and lots of freshly grated cheese, and turkey bacon, which is a pretty healthy alternative. We're going to use about half of this package. And these guys, now we don't advocate any particular brand because we're not advertising, we don't make money off of this, but I love these guys because the stuff that you get out of a can sometimes, it's always mushy, it's lost its nutrients. This stuff pops in the microwave for about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and it comes out almost like you picked it out of your garden. It's really fresh, great stuff, and it's going to be awesome in our pesto dish. You're going to need a gigantic bowl to serve in. This is about as big as the cereal bowl I eat in the morning. And the final, most important ingredient, you always cook with wine. Let's get started. Okay, so we've got our bacon going here. And we want it to be nice and crispy and brown because we're actually going to chop it up pretty fine later. And we've got our pasta water on the fire. Now, when you're doing your pasta water, some people say add salt to it to help the pasta not stick. Other people claim that you add olive oil to it. Some people say don't do either of those things, it's a huge waste of time. I say it doesn't hurt, so I put both of them in there anyway because I can't afford to screw it up. And the salt also imparts a little bit of flavor to the pasta, which will help your finished dish. So, with that said, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so our bacon's all set to go, and as you can see, it's kind of black and crispy and...
Yuck.
Jay's always yelling at me, why do you cook the bacon so long? It's burned. I like my bacon this way, and a lot of people don't, but it's actually going to be okay. We're going to chop this bacon up really fine, and it's going to totally diffuse throughout the dish. So if you overcook the bacon or undercook the bacon, it's not really going to matter all that much to the ultimate presentation and flavor of the dish. So that said, we're going to let this bacon cool its heels for just a second, and we have something else to do over here. We took all the tomatoes out of our jar, and we saved the olive oil and added it with the pesto, which is gently heating on the stove over here, so when we mix it into the final dish. And what we're going to do is the tomatoes come out of the jar pretty big, and we want them to be able to spread out.
I thought you liked them big.
Not that kind of big. So we're just going to chop them up a little bit so that they're a little bit finer and that they spread out better.
They look really good.
Yeah, and they're going to taste even better.
So what is it you like about this dish so much?
Well, you get a lot of the herb flavor from the pesto, and then the bacon adds a lot of great saltiness, and the sun-dried tomatoes give it some tang and a little bit of kick that it really needs. And it kind of just tastes like summer in Italy to me, so...
Plus it's pretty easy to make, huh?
Yeah, it's super simple, you know. I added a few more steps than probably it might need, like chopping up the tomatoes and stuff, but... Yeah. You know, anything you can do to make it easier for you, go for it.
Now, one of these days, let's try to make it from scratch. We'll make the pesto from scratch, we'll make the sun-dried tomatoes from scratch, and see how it comes out.
Yeah, I totally want to.
Okay, so I guess we'll be back in a minute when you're ready to combine stuff?
Yep, almost. Okay, so our water has just reached its boil, and we're ready to add our pasta in. So we're going to add it.
What's so important about the water boiling?
Well, it has to reach the right temperature in order to cook the pasta. Otherwise, it'll take forever. And we're going to want to stir it too, so it doesn't stick together. Okay, and once our pasta's in, and it hits its boil again, it's going to be about 11 minutes. And make sure to check your pasta, fish your piece out, take a bite, and it should have just a little bit of bite to it. And then we're ready to add our sauce. Okay, everybody, pasta's done. We're ready to drain and put everything together. So we're gonna have our colander ready. Make sure the cameraman isn't too close to the sink so he doesn't burn his legs.
Yeah, thanks a lot, handsome. He did burn my foot, by the way.
You know, it's kind of like man versus wild. There's always a certain amount of risk whenever you're cooking in the kitchen with me.
It's glad the kids ain't running around in here.
That's why we don't let the kids think it's while I'm doing this. Okay, here we go, in the pot. Alright. And we had our pesto and our chopped sun-dried tomatoes kind of slowly sitting under heat here on the stove. Just so it kind of heats everything together, loosens up the oil, blends the flavors a little bit. And we're ready to just put that right in. And stir all that together. This is the part we want to do first before we add the other ingredients, because then the pasta will not stick together. Okay, moving on to our next step. Nom 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 nom, the bacon, the part everybody loves. Now, we're not quite vegetarians. We don't eat red meat, so this is turkey bacon, which is a good alternative to actual bacon. You can use whatever you want. If you're a vegetarian, I know there's all kinds of like tofu bacon types out there that I've had and really aren't too bad. Otherwise, anything that would sort of bring a little saltiness to the dish, you can actually bump up the cheese a little bit, would be one thing you can do. Not very vegan, but it's a choice. If anybody out there has any ideas, feel free to chime them in. Bacon goes right in. Okay, stir, 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 put it all together. Okay, so we've got our peas all set to go. Now, nothing here is in perfect proportions. It's to your taste, so if you like a lot of peas, dump in a lot of peas. If you don't, that's okay too. It's really there to give it a little freshness and a little extra texture. And I'm going to put the whole thing in, especially since we're serving a lot of people. Okay. And one of my favorite Italian chefs, Lydia Bastianich, always adds cheese to her pasta dishes. And we're going to put a little bit in. A couple handfuls here. And just stir it in so everything gets nice and melted together. Alright. And now we're ready to add to our giant bowl and a little extra on the floor is okay. I'm going to stir it all in together there. We're going to dress it with our cheese, and we are presto! We are done. Ready to serve, hopefully happy relatives at the family reunion. But just in case we don't, I have 911 on speed dial. So hope everybody has a happy 4th, and we will see you next time on Cooking for the Culinarily Challenged.
And I believe that our love will find its way through the current as the waves